Hey, what's up, everybody? That shouldn't be up. How's it going? I am Seth. Glad to be with you today on the Insta Good Show, and wanted to tell you that I got some good stuff for you today on the show. You can follow me at Seth Muse on Instagram, or just hit me up at SethMuse.com, and I would love to be friends. Let's adjust here just a tad. Okay, so things are happening in the world of Instagram, and one of the biggest news stories that I've seen in the last few days is what we're going to call our news section today, and it is this: IG Reels and Steals. They've got a new program that's rolling out, a new feature, let's say, that's rolling out in multiple countries, not the U.S. yet. So this news is breaking to me, for me, over on what's this thing called? Later, on the Later blog. I follow the Later blog. It's one of the best Instagram sources for information. They also cover TikTok and Pinterest and other social media platforms because they're a scheduler like Buffer. But their blog they really started as an Instagram thing, so they focus on Instagram. And so I wanted to show you this article that has just come up, and it's really, really interesting. So check this out really quick. Here we go, sharing the screen. All right, Instagram Reels. Instagram Reels is basically another Instagram ripoff. They are thieving from TikTok now, and it is obvious that they did that for Snapchat with the whole stories thing, and it has worked out really well. Snapchat is still around, but let's just, we can agree, I think, that Instagram's adoption of their best features and even improving upon them has really made Snapchat, deflate just a little bit over the last few years. They're still around. They're still doing their thing. There's a lot of people still loyal to that platform, especially younger generation, Gen Z people, even some young millennials. But for the most part, you don't really hear a lot about Snapchat these days. TikTok has been on the rise, though. It's a combination. It's like a rehash of the old Musical.ly app. Lots of interesting things going on at TikTok. Lots of scary things happening about TikTok. Whatever side of the fence, I guess, you're on. We all know that, there's nothing, no platform is perfect, but Instagram is taking some of their features. Look at this. They're going to introduce this thing called Reels, and you knew, right? They were already trying this, that Facebook has already released a standalone app in other countries. If you've heard the audio, Mark Zuckerberg said, we're going to take TikTok and, put our Facebook stamp on it and re-release it elsewhere, and we'll do it better. That's what he said. And so they released an app called Lasso. You ever heard of that? No, because they're not doing it better. But they're going to integrate the TikTok feature inside of Instagram, which makes more sense, to be honest. People aren't going to jump an entire platform for the exact same experience when they've already established a presence on a platform. But when they've already got people on a platform, one of the fastest growing platforms, and they just bring the features into it. From their thieving of Snapchat, we can tell, we've already seen this is a successful tactic. Now, how they get away with it legally, I have no idea, but they are literally ripping these ideas. So here's the deal. It's in Germany, Brazil, France. That's the only places you can find it now. They can record, it says 15-second video clips, set to music, and share them to stories. So it's basically a creator option to create content like TikTok that will really function within stories. So stories is still their thing, but there's a TikTok type creation slider that they're going to have, and I'll show you what that might look like here in a second. But they can record these 15-second video clips, which you already do on Instagram. But it's an editor. If you've ever used TikTok, there's a lot of editing features inside there that make it really, really unique. And so they've already introduced the library of filters and stuff to stories, which I'm sure will be part of that. And they've tried music, but it hasn't been super big with the music thing. But if they can enhance the music part or allow the sharing, because the way TikTok works is you find a piece of content you like, you can actually just tap the audio file and it opens up the creator with that file that you can then start making something with that exact same audio, whether it's something they've grabbed or they created themselves. So there's it is the Fair Use Act gone completely out the window, if that's even a factor, which I don't even think it is. But it's copyright infringement galore happening on TikTok. No one even seems to care, and it's happened so fast. Nobody can do anything about it, so it's kind of like, I'll just let them go. I guess. But they're going to bring this to Instagram. There's a video. Check this out. There will be a new section called for these types of videos to go viral. So they will have their own slightly different thing that will be a hashtag or a part of the not a hashtag. It's the, what's it called? The this part where your the search area of Instagram. This little deal right here, the magnifying glass. I can't remember the name right now, but it'll have its own section that says Reels, and you can click popular Reels, and like your viral Reels would be kind of like a For You page for Instagram like TikTok has, where it will show you what you want to see based on what people are creating out of Reels. So it's almost like TikTok inside of Instagram in a way. Really interesting. Why are they doing this? Because, Mark Zuckerberg is the most incredibly clever thief of all time in the digital space. So that's why they're doing it. He takes it. Here's a thing about Lasso. I'll put this link in the show notes so you guys can go check this out and read this if you want to. But here it shows how to do it. So check this out. This is what it will look like. You see down here at the bottom, it says Reels. I don't know if you can read that. It's really small, but it says Reels. It's like your story, live, all this stuff, all the same functions. So it's basically going to be a little slide section of the creation tool here. And then you can do, punch that, hold it, create. You've got all your audio, speed, effects, timer, all these different, pull stuff from your library, take photos, do whatever you want. And it basically will function in a lot of ways like TikTok. So you've got this little slider, Instagram looking tool still, but it will be TikTok functionality. Here's it breaks down like what all these look like. It's really interesting. I mean, to be honest, if you're a nerd like me, this is just super interesting. And it says it's similar to boomerang mode. Also, if you haven't seen what they've done to boomerang, they've added things in boomerang mode as well that are a little bit different boomerangs that you might want to check out just on the Instagram side. So you capture footage, it says, and then much like TikTok, you can start and stop recording multiple times during your 15-second video by pressing and holding the button and editing those sections so that it lines up with the music and the audio that you're trying to imitate. So then you hit it, then you share it, and then here it is, and it puts a preview of your reel on the preview feed wall. So it will be part of, and it has not this feed wall, but this own special version of your feed. So you're now going to have two feeds of content to really work with. Still, you'll have stories here, you'll have feed here, and you'll have reels here. As if there wasn't enough to keep up with on Instagram, right? This app is just growing and growing and growing. It's like an Adobe product. It's like, let's take our video editor and make it also a motion graphics thing and an audio recorder. And why don't we just set it so that it can make toast as well? I mean, what else are we going to do with these things? It's so much going on in this app. Ridiculous. And I love it because now I don't have to worry about other apps if I just want to stay in this one app. So anyway, this is a big deal. This is a big move for Instagram, for Facebook. This is typical of what they do, but this is a feature that's coming to Instagram soon. They've been working on this for about a year. They tried the Lasso deal. I wondered when we were going to see something for Instagram, but it's kind of big breaking news. This in the last few days has just been dropped into, we knew it was happening in other countries, but now it's like plans are to roll out in other countries. That's a sign that it was working and they're expanding. And so if they expand in other countries and it works, then there's no doubt that probably before the end of the year, we're going to see Reels in America. You get to see the real America. God, if they say that, I'm going to leave the country. Oh my gosh, if that's their marketing team. I am a real American. Remember that? That's Hulk Hogan's intro music. Sorry. Let's move on. Anyway, there's so many other things going on in Instagram world that I want to make sure that we covered. Like I said, I'll drop that link to that article in the show notes below. So don't worry about trying to remember all that or write notes. I'm going to send it to you. as soon as we're done here in this post, I'll make sure to go in there and do it. And if I forget, somebody remind me, because sometimes that happens. Anyway, I did put it up in the little bug here. Let's put that up again so that you can see it. All right, see there's a link down there. So if you want to go back in the video and just pause it and type that in, there it is in case I forget. I won't forget. I'm promising. All right. So now let's talk about frequently asked questions on Instagram. Here's a big one. How do you get your leadership on board with Instagram? We already are like with Facebook. We're already trying to do that. How do you get your leadership to understand and even embrace Instagram and really social media in general? Or let's just expand this honestly to a leadership lesson of communications. How do we get leadership who are not familiar with social, don't care about our website, they want to set it and forget it? That's not why they're here, right? And that's okay. Pastors and leaders are not, they don't love this stuff all the time. And that's okay. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to love teaching the Bible. They're supposed to love discipling people. They're supposed to love leading an organization to impact their community. You want them to love that stuff, but you need them on board. You need them to be on board as well, at least to understand it, at least be in favor of it. So how do you do that? How do you not only just keep your job, but have them understand why you're going through a process and they need to give you things 2 weeks early, why it throws a wrench in the gears of the whole system if they do something last minute, why it's not you just playing on Facebook and it actually is ministry or an Instagram. Those types of things are difficult conversations that you cannot just have one convo and it's like it's all fixed, you know? So let's talk about three simple tactics that I think help, that probably are going to make you think, wow, that's not that complicated. It's not. It's just hard to do. So let's talk about how to get leadership on board. Here's the first one. Speak their language. This is the most important one. I was talking with someone the other day in one of my coaching sessions, which I do for 45-minute free session. First session's free. If anybody wants one, hit me up at sethmuse.com/coaching, and I'd love to talk to you, set up an appointment. But I was talking to somebody in one of those, and they were having this exact same problem. And I was like, first you have to speak their language. I was like, well, what do you mean? I said, in communications, we often will take our church audience, our Facebook audience, our Instagram audience, and we'll go, who is our target audience? What is the demographic? What are the psychographics? And we get a persona and we get really detailed about it. Because why? We want to communicate value to them and motivate them to do things, which is exactly what you're trying to do with your leadership if they don't understand what it is we do. So for us to think that they just get it is to ignore all the other things that we know about communicating. So if you're not trying to speak their language and understand your audience as the leadership of your church as its own audience, then you're going to have a problem here, communicating value and getting them to understand why this stuff is important, how to help you out, why they should. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. But I know that's a common issue that I see in communications with pastoral leadership. And I don't think we're at odds. I think we're just speaking different languages. So for instance, when I went in to, when I go in to talk to a pastor and I want to talk about marketing, we need to get, some things going for our marketing strategies. Marketing strategies is a phrase that when I was a pastor, I honestly kind of knew what it meant, but I didn't want to hear it. It sounds boring and it's not what I'm passionate about. I don't know what marketing strategies means. It sounds like some fancy uppity person that thinks they know more than me. So they're throwing a bunch of fancy words out. So I feel stupid and just worship the ground they walk on because you're so smart. I mean, that's honestly sometimes what I thought. And we may be affecting people that way, not realizing it because these are just common phrases for us. Marketing strategies makes total sense. So I learned to, instead of saying marketing strategies, I had to go in and say, what are we going to do that helps us reach people more effectively? That connects. Pastors want to reach people and they want to do it better. All of them look at 1 Corinthians 9 and go, to the Jews I became a Jew, to the Gentiles I became a Gentile, so that I became all things to all men so that I may save some. I'm doing everything I can. They get that mentality, but they don't understand it when you say marketing strategies. You understand? It's like totally a different vernacular that we use that they don't use. So when you go in, you have to understand your audience is a pastor, is a leader who is not versed maybe in social media speak or whatever. Another phrase that you might think about is ROI. We like to talk about ROI, return on investment. Now, if you're talking about money, that computes because a lot of pastors have to deal with finances. But when you start talking about ROI of social media, that doesn't compute because honestly, it's just free. We're just playing around, talking to people. What are you talking about? Return on investment. So that's when you go in, instead of saying ROI, you say, what are we trying to get them to do here? What do we want them, what's the number 1 and 2 goals of our Instagram account? Do we want them to go to our profile page? Do we want them to, do we want them to comment and be able to talk back? I mean, what is it we're really trying to do with this account? What would be a win? And where does it fit in our system of how to get people to go further into the organization? So understanding strategy in that sense and how we even talk to people is a huge factor in getting things done as a communicator. You have to learn to speak their language. So I could talk more and more about that forever, but I will tell you this, that if you're not treating your leadership board, because we're middle management, man. Most communicators are middle management. We are relegated to the end of the hall. We don't have a seat at the main leadership table, and we should. If you're a pastor watching, we should. We can help you, and we want to help you, but we often don't. And if that's the case, then you have to treat your leadership like they are a target audience. Create a persona. Talk about the staff at your church in a way in your own head. You don't have to share it with anybody. Just know it. And I would even suggest, this is what I told this person to do that I was coaching. Write a list out of marketing terms that you know, and then put a little dash and then translate it. And here's how I'm going to talk about it when I'm with these people. I'm not going to say marketing strategies or marketing. I'm going to say reaching people. When we say ROI, we're going to say, what do we get them to do? And those are longer, unsexy phrases, but they understand that. That's their world. That's a computation. I made that word up. You can define that if you like. That is a understanding that we have to be able to get in and translate. That's a translation. That's what I was going for. All right. So moving on, I can harp on that all day. Here's the second tactic. Be friends. Be friends. Relationships matter. And at the end of the day, if you're right and you're a jerk, they will not listen. And so if you're right and they don't know anything about you, then that allows them to discount anything that you know. And that works both ways. Like if they come to you and tell you something, you're like, that's not it, and you don't know them, it's easy for you to go, well, they're a pastor, they don't get it. But you don't know. You're not really friends with them. You don't know anything about them. So I would suggest being friends. And this is small talk. And a lot of communicators, we are introverts, and we struggle to be friends with people who are not like us. It's difficult. I get it. But it's going down to the hall and saying, how are your kids? It's following them on Facebook and understanding, or Instagram, and knowing what's going on in their life and responding there and talking to them there. Not in a weird way, but just, kind and encouraging. This kind of thing is like, you have to spend time. Ask them to lunch. Go to lunch when everyone's going. Invite yourself. I used to feel like I never got invited, and because I wasn't. And because I worked at a church where I was really an outsider and no one's really making an effort. And so I was like, okay, I can either just live with that and deal with the consequences of it, or I can just go and talk to people, invite them myself to lunch, or I can just find out people are going and just say, hey, mind if I go with? Nobody's going to say no, just go. So, because you're trying to do a job. And if you're not friends and have relationships with these people, it's going to be difficult. Because you want, when your name comes to mind in your staff or your leadership's mind, when your name comes up, you want them to go, oh yeah, I like that guy, or she's really cool, and not, who is that? Who are we talking about? Oh, I don't care what they say. What do they know? You want them to know who you are. So that's important. All right, number 3, tell stories. Specifically for communicators talking to pastors, you have to tell stories. This type of thing. Okay, so here's what I mean by this. And I say this all the time, and I understand that you can break down any metaphor or any whatever, but just go with me on this. Pastors don't want stats, they want stories. That is what I've learned. And what I mean by that is that you might know the stat. You need to know it. You need to know why it's important. You need to know why this decision's better than that decision. But if you can't give a narrative or an anecdote about why that's the deal, then it's difficult to move things down the pipeline. Because like it or not, if you're a pastor listening to this, you know you do this. You'll hear one or two people talk about something that happened and then try to make an entire policy for your whole church based on one or two instances or one or two opinions. And for communicators who live in stats world, that makes no sense. And so for us, we go, no, but wait, that's not what we do. That's not the right answer. So we get frustrated and end up getting some friction because we simply want stats to rule. Well, they don't. They should, I think. I know you do. But let's be honest. We've all worked in the church for a while, right? I've been there 41 years. I've gone to church. I worked in youth ministry for 17 of those, and worship ministry. I've been in communications ministry. I've done a lot of different things in every single place. This is the case because pastors want stories, not stats. They want to know what's going on. They want to hear real life change. They want to see how it's impacting. They want something they can relate to others. Numbers, stats, that kind of stuff just doesn't translate as powerful. It's like if you went through a financial giving campaign and all you talked about were stats. Are you going to hit your goals? No. You're not going to hit your goals. If you've been through StoryBrand or any other kind of branding strategy school, they're going to tell you need a narrative, you need a story, you need to guide them along the way, you need to give them the why, you need to give them all this stuff. So don't do that with your pastors. Don't think that just because we increased 3% in our likes and comments on Facebook this week that the pastor's going to go, good job, you get a raise. He's going to go, so what? We had a good week. Cool. Facebook doesn't even matter. Instagram doesn't matter. Maybe that's their attitude. So if you're not telling them about someone reaching out to you in Instagram and the DMs that you were able to direct to the marriage ministry and now they're involved, that's a good story. Someone in kids ministry who you saw was doing something really cool and you shared it and other people were really encouraging that person, share that story. Tell those stories to your leadership so they see the value of the ministry happening on social, on Instagram, on Facebook. And that helps them to understand what's really going on over here. So again, don't just sit there in your office and say, man, they should just know this stuff. You're the communication director, and it is partly your job to communicate the value to that leadership. And so you have to be, since we're middle management, we have to tell stories. Send them an email, send an all staff email. Today on Instagram, this happened. It was really, really cool screenshots. Takes you 30 seconds to do it, and it will help so much for the culture of your church to start to appreciate the ministry they can do on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media, on YouTube, wherever. And you'll start to see a little bit of understanding. When I started doing that at my last church, other people in the staff who normally were like, I hate social media, started coming to me and asking me for help because they were trying something. They saw the value and they're like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Hey, Seth, can you help me with this? I'm like, yes. Yeah, I would love to help you with that. So that is just a culture shifting thing. And that's what we'd forget is that Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, social media channels, Twitter even, these are culture shaping tools for your church. They are not announcement hubs. They are culture shaping tools. And if you want the culture of your church to be, they go and do stuff and care about them, talk about the stuff, but shape it in a cultural conversation, not an announcement conversation. And so when you're focused on creating culture, both externally with social and internally with communications about social, everyone starts to understand that this is a place where they can do real ministry and your job gets easier. It does. It really does. Okay, so a couple of comments. Tammy Burdick. Hey, what's up, Tammy? She's helping me with my own Instagram. She's awesome at Firm Foundations Marketing. Check them out. She said, speak with the end goal in mind. Absolutely. And then Derek Hansen. Hey, man, what's up? Jumping in late, but I'm having monthly communication workshops over lunch hour. Also cool. Providing lunch for attendees. Definitely need to do that because if there's no food, there's no people for some reason. But if you're going to do it over lunch, obviously you have to. That's awesome. Keep being relational. Yep. And because that bridges that. I did a social summit once at a church and invited specific people to it. And that was such a huge leap forward for us as a church, just to get everybody on the same page. And all I did was talk about, here's what we care about on social media, and here's why we do what we do. If you're in communications, you ought to at least be able to talk about that for at least 20 minutes. Not hard. Do put it on some slides though, because that helps you focus and everybody else as well. Because if they don't care about it, which is typical, then that could be hard. Okay, moving on. All right, let's move on to our tips and such. And here's the tip of the week: get good lighting. For Instagram, it's a photography video app, predominantly. Get good lighting. I'll show you a difference. You can buy something so simple. Let me show you what I use. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again. Get good lighting is the tip. Now, here we go. I got a couple things going on. Sorry. Boom. This is a ring light. Notice that it is 8 inches. It comes with all these accessories. Well, these aren't actually accessories. These are colors that it does. It has a remote to operate your phone, and it is USB plug powered. You can, on this handle here, turn it on and off. You can add, here we go. So on this handle, you turn on and off, and then you've got that middle button cycles through the different colors, and then the plus and minus is how bright and how dim it is. Very, very simple to use. It's what I use right here on the Insta Good Show, where we're helping you get Insta Good and Instagram. I didn't say that earlier, but that's what we're doing. So this thing is $40. It is $40. Now let me show you the difference here and what it does. It's on Amazon, selfie ring light, 8 inch, has a tripod. It's great. And I recommend getting something like this for doing quick videos, even if you're in the auditorium or you're in the sanctuary or your lobby or a room. These things weigh, nothing pounds, and you can just grab it, throw it in a backpack. They're really, really durable. And then you can just have decent lighting, great lighting, but it's decent lighting. Let me show you the difference. All right, I'm gonna turn my light that I'm using now off. Hey, it's dark. I have a light there. I have a light here, it's not on. And then I have a window, and I have this little snazzy light in the back. But when I turn this on, lights up my whole face, which helps the quality and clarity of my camera. You ever get that grainy, fuzzy? It's because you don't have enough light. So get good lighting for your shots, for your photos, for your videos that you shoot. Lighting and sound are a bigger deal than the actual video this thing shoots. This phone can shoot such good video, but if it doesn't have good lighting and doesn't have good sound, then those two things can really tank a video, when they can tank a photo as well. The lighting can. Obviously, there's no audio in a photo. So anyway, so that's the tip for this week. Get good lighting. I'll put it up one more time. If you're not getting good lighting, then you're probably getting grainy photos or blurry photos because you have low light. And I know that when you're in a situation like your worship team, like in a service or something live, then you probably are not getting, it's probably dark. It's probably really dark in the room. But right now, as we're all at home, we have light. Yeah, Tammy, I'll drop that link too in the show notes as well. But I've got lighting coming in from the window. So if you don't have something like that, here's some tips really quick. Get in front of a window. And what I mean is, don't sit with the camera facing the window, because then you'll look like you're in the witness protection program, silhouetted and dark. You may as well throw a voice encoder over your voice and act like, you're a witness in a murder trial or something, because that's what you'll look like. They won't be able to see you. You want the light coming in from the window to hit your face, like the subject, not the camera, right? Like the subject, not the camera. For more stuff on this kind of thing, Rob Lauder is great. Go check out his stuff at Church Photographers. But a simple ring light is good. If you get too far away from the ring light, you're going to lose some of the quality of the light. So it might not be as good. So what if you're in a big situation, you have a big room or big space, then you'll probably need at least what we call a 3-point lighting system. And that's what I basically have set up here with my ring light. So I have a light over there, a light over there, and a light right here in the middle. Now, a 4-point lighting system adds one in the back, which is my see that ring light and reflecting the TV because it's awesome. And this is a high quality studio and not a bedroom. So check out the light that's back there. So that just adds a little bit to the wall. And actually this window is providing lighting off that wall as well. So lighting is so big. It's so important. I notice when I'm in Zoom calls and I'm in here and it's 7 o'clock at night even, or 10 o'clock at night. Well, I'm not on Zoom calls at 10. Let's just say late in the evening when the sun's gone down. When I'm in here, I'll look at Zoom calls or with people, and I'm the best lit one almost every time. And it's because I have a ring light. And it's not even on that much. I think I have it on like 30% because you don't want it glaring off your face, right? You just want enough to light the face and light the features so there's not a lot of shadows. Now, I have a little shadow because that light's actually not on right now because I got the window. But anyway, that's probably more than you cared to know. Okay, so let's go into that's our tips and such for the week. Hopefully that helps you. Lighting is super important, especially for visuals with photos and videos. So make sure you're getting good light. Turn the subject where the light is hitting the subject and not overpowering it and not coming at the camera. You don't want that. All right, so let's go into our spotlight. I got 2 this week. One is for fun, and well, both are for fun. First I wanted to show you an Instagram account, but it's really about what they're promoting. Many of you know I have a podcast. It's called the Seminary of Hard Knocks Podcast. It's about communications and church comms and marketing and all these types of things. And I have a co-host whose name is Megan Ranson. And I love Megan. She's amazing. She also works for a company called Church Fuel. And what Church Fuel has done is Michael Lukaszewski, which is a fun name to say. I love it. They have recently started a podcast as well, the Church Fuel Podcast. Now, this is like really for pastors who want to understand communications. Is a big focus of theirs, but they're also focused on leadership and processes. And so if you've got a pastor that really wants to learn or somebody that wants to grow in leadership, share this with them. It's a good podcast. Megan does a great job. Michael does a great job. And Michael's brilliant too. They both are, but this is Michael's company. And if you ever heard him speak at that church conference or something like that, he knows his stuff. This dude knows what's up when it comes to marketing. And so Megan and he are talking to each other, but also interviewing pastors and leaders and at churches that are, pretty significant, as well as some that are not well known. And you can find this anywhere you get podcasts. So I recommend this podcast a lot, in addition to mine, of course. And then Church Communications podcast as well. If you didn't know that, there's a great, Katie and Kenny do a great podcast here in this group. But this is really aimed at pastors. And so if you have a pastor, this is one of those things you can help them understand, which actually makes your life easier, is sharing this with them. Just start with like an episode you think would be really great. Probably one that's short, that's entertaining. Look through there and find one and say, hey, I listened to this. Would you mind listening to it? And we can talk about it over lunch, or maybe say it in a not weird way like I just did. But you know what I'm saying? Get with them, talk about it. And it helps create these kinds of conversations for you that can actually help you do your job, help them understand what's going on. Oh, Rob's here. I just talked about how you're great at lighting and everybody should follow you on Church Photographers. So somebody tagged you as the pro, which you are, I guess. I mean, I don't know anybody else. So anyway. All right, here's the other one I want to show you. This one's just for fun. This is another Instagram account that's just for fun. This is 80s, 90s kids memories. I found this Instagram account, and being, a kid in the 80s who grew up with, all these toys and shows and stuff, it really was a golden era of entertainment for kids and for teenagers. So I just loved this, and I wanted to share it with you. This says, born in 1985, grew in the 90s. I graduated high school in 97. So if you're like me, or if you just like nostalgia, there's all kinds of stuff in here that are really Muppet Babies. Remember this? Look at this. Muppet Babies on a Happy Meal. I remember these collectibles when I was a kid. So this is great. I love this kind of stuff. There's Bret Hart with the belt. Men in Black. Oh my gosh. League of Their Own. Remember League of Their Own? That was a great film. There's No Crying in Baseball. Big Trouble in Little China. Here's some toys. I don't know, man. It's fun. It's just a fun little page. Look at this. Look at this one. This is so great. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan the Barbarian. with Wilt Chamberlain, who was in the second Conan, and Andre the Giant, which I don't know if he was in there or not, but look how small Arnold Schwarzenegger is next to those guys. Oh, this is so funny. Where's He-Man? It shouldn't take long to find He-Man. They have Mortal Kombat. Oh, WWF, it's the Legion of Doom. Oh, it's amazing. There's Spaceballs, Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh my gosh. So many fun things. It's just fun to have one of these pop up on your timeline from time to time. And just that nostalgia is such a good jolt of positive, what's it called? Dopamine. And man, Lord knows we could use that right now. So there's a show that didn't hold up over time. Which one was it? RoboCop? Which one? Oh, there's Mortal Kombat didn't. Oh my gosh. Hulkster again today. Oh man, there's just so many fun things here. So if you grew up in the same era I did, this will be a fun page for you. Go follow them. It's called 80s, 90s Kids Memories. Oh, sure. Okay. Ryan, I actually do have an old Nintendo, and if I could figure out how to get it on stream, I would be up for that. It's sitting right back behind me. I have about 30 games, including both Ninja Turtles, The Legend of Zelda, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, not Mr. Dream's Punch-Out, and I also have Double Dragon, Double Dribble, Mario 1 through 3. Oh my gosh, I should do that. Okay, I'm going to get sidetracked so fast. Nostalgia is fun. All right, so if you're looking for those, first one was Church Fuel. It's at Church Fuel Podcast is in there. You'll be able to find it from their Instagram. But if you want to see that, it's 80s, 90s Kids Memories. Just kind of a sarcastic way of spelling it. Anyway, oh my gosh, this was a fun show. This was a fun show today. You can follow me at Seth Muse or hit me up at sethmuse.com. I'd love for you to check out my podcast, The Seminary of Hard Knocks. Did you have the code on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out to get to that final bout? Oh, you mean 007-373-5963 that I can still recite without any kind of problem? Yeah, I had it. Waiting for the reaction on that. You have no idea the depth of the nerddom that I go to. I mean, I go to 11 on nerddom. We just relaunched I'm doing a podcast with my friend Justin Nava called the Nerd Pastors Podcast. You gotta check that out. We're ranking the MCU movies right now. We've talked about Star Wars. It's just for kicks, you know. Yeah. Awesome. So anyway, that's the Insta Good show for today. And we have really derailed. I knew we were going to at the end. Hey, we need some good news, man. It's kind of a rough time out there right now. And I just want you guys to know that whatever you're seeing on your social media feeds and whatever you're fighting with people about and families and, you know, politics and all the stuff that's happening right now, I just want you to know that our theology, what we know about God, informs everything else. And I just want you to know that here on the Insta Good Show, we're going to bring some positivity. We're going to bring some love to you guys, some help to you guys. And I want you to know, guys, I'm regularly just impressed with the things that I see come across my feed from this group and others as well. Just you guys are in a time right now where it's never been done. You know, we've never seen this, and man, you're killing it. I'm just incredibly proud of you. You know, I just think you're doing great, and I don't even know you. It's like I see the stuff that you're asking questions about, and you're working really hard to get things done. And just you may not get recognition, but I just want you to know I see you. We all see you, and we appreciate you. And there are probably a lot of people at your church that see you and appreciate you that just never say it. So don't let the negative self-talk get you. Keep your head up. I know we may be entering another couple of months of this lockdown, and that's so frustrating. But whether we're in lockdown or you're going back to church, it doesn't really matter. Our job is to help us communicate good news and as long as we can continue to focus on communicating that good news, I think that God is going to bless the work of our hands. I believe that. I believe he does not. We've said it for years to our kids. God doesn't need a building. God doesn't even need us. He doesn't need anything to be glorified in the world. And now we get to put our money where our mouth is when we say that and believe it for ourselves. We do our best. We do what we can do. And we keep our head up and realize that we may plant seeds, but God does the growing, right? So when you're doing what you're doing on social, just know it's working in some way. And, God is going to bless the faithful hands that work, and just keep being faithful. Keep doing what you can do. So anyway, with that, I love you guys. I will see you next week. I'm bringing on, we are actually going to make it happen. We're talking about Facebook ads and Instagram ads next week. Really, we're going to focus on Instagram ads in this show. So next week, 1:15-ish here in the group, Central, 2:15 Eastern. I will see you at the Insta Good Show. Later, guys. Thank you so much for being here.